Mr. Cox? Mr. Cox.
Give him a minute, son. Dewey Cox needs to think about his entire life before he plays.
From the time he was a boy.
Ain't no 6-year-old understand the true meaning of the blues.
I reckon I might.
I done a bad thing. Cut my brother in half.
It's not bad for your first time.
The music of Dewey Cox has had an effect on people.
It's the devil's music.
From the guy who brought you Talladega Nights and Superbad.
I've got to give up this dream. You're never gonna make it.
And maybe you don't believe in me after all.
I do believe in you. I just know you're gonna fail.
Columbia Pictures presents The Epic Journey.
Walking to the top of a mountain ain't easy. It's a long, hard walk. But I will walk hard.
Of the man who became a legend.
Walk hard. The Beatles want to hang out, so I'm gonna go do that.
With meditation, there's no limit to what we can imagine.
This Christmas,
I'm leaving you.
You can take the children, but you leave me, my monkey.
when it comes to music.
I ain't good enough to follow Elvis.
There's two things you need to know. I'm the king, and number two is look out, man! You see how close I came to your head? I can chop a man in half.
I'm guilty as charged.
No legend is bigger than Cox.
You met my new wife, Cheryl Cox T. Thanks, buddy Holly. What do you think, George Harrison?
The one, the only, Dewey Cox.
And thank you, Eddie Vedder.
Walk hard.
What happened to you, Dewey?
I don't know, but I know what happened to you. Patrick Duffy took a beating.
Walk hard.
My life has been blessed, from my singing to my family to my sausage.
It doesn't say Cox unless I say it tastes like Cox.
Walk hard.
And welcome back to the Movie Hero Network, everyone. This is Wheel of Movies, episode number 24. This is a deep dive into the favorite films of this community. And tonight we have spun Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story, if you hadn't already guessed from the trailer. This should be a really fun discussion. I personally think this is one of the funniest films of the 2000s, and we'll definitely talk about it here. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, Richie Goodacre, man. How you doing?
Yeah, not too bad, man. Yeah, I forgot how funny this movie was. I get rewatched just before we came on here, and yeah, it's there's a lot of jokes. Obviously, I was a lot younger when it came out, so there's a lot of jokes I missed. But yeah, it's a lot of jokes per second, and it's very funny. Yes. I had a lot of fun watching this again. So yeah, it'll be fun to talk about.
No, this is a great film. So just get a couple of specs out of the way before we kind of dive into it. This is Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox Story, directed by Jake Kasdan, who has gone on to have quite a decent little filmography. He kind of broke out with Orange County and a few other movies, and most recently, probably best known for the two Jumanji films with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, which have been very successful. So good for him. He's gone on to have a pretty solid presence so far. Written by Jake Kasdan and Judd Apatow, who also produced the movie. A lot of people think it's an Apatow movie. It kind of is. He's definitely got his hands on it, but it's not his movie directly. December 21st, 2007 is released. So we've had a lot of Christmas movies on here. Like as far as Christmas releases, it's been a weird theme here on Wheel of Movies. These movies get released at Christmas time. I feel like we've had at least 5 or 6 of those, here, but very strange. And that could have contributed to the fact that the movie had a budget of $35 million, only made $20 million. This movie was a bomb, and it was really unfortunate. Yeah. And I think, to me personally, I don't know about you, Richie, bad time to release this movie in the middle of Christmas. It's going to get lost in the shuffle. I feel like you released this in like a March or something. Maybe it would do better. I don't know, like a smaller month.
Yeah, especially it's like not like a. Usually around Christmas, you see either like your big tentpole like blockbusters. Especially around this time, you still were in like Lord of the Rings territory, or just got out of Lord of the Rings territory. So it's
in your Oscar movies as well.
In your Oscar movies, so yeah, like around like mid-year, like like maybe March, April, May. It's sort of like that's around the time to put it out there, unless they can't imagine they'd have like little faith in it. It's Judd Apatow was doing well at this point. So yeah, I think it's just it's a victim of a bad release date in my opinion.
Yeah, I think it really was. Yeah, I think if you put this out on a slower month, let it get a little good word of mouth and a little that. I don't know. Maybe people just weren't ready for a music biopic parody. That's pretty specific. But I feel like this movie has picked up an audience over the years, so I think it has at least kind of found its audience since then, and has aged very well in my opinion. This movie's aged like wine. As far as I will talk about it, but I've seen even recent biopics that are still using the tropes that this movie demolished 17 years ago. So we'll talk about that. Not a whole lot of trivia kind of or behind the scenes things, other than John C. Reilly actually sang the songs in the movie. So he went in the studio and actually recorded all this stuff you hear in the movie, and played guitar for most of it. He's actually an avid guitar player, so he played guitar for a lot of the tracks as well. And then this movie did receive 2 Golden Globe nominations, didn't win either, but John C. Reilly received a Golden Globe nomination for Best Musical or Comedy Performance, which, hey, okay, cool, in that aspect, and he's really good in the movie, so I'll give him that. So that fits, and for Best Original Song for Walk Hard for the title song. So
that's right as well.
Yeah, so that's really all I got. Not a whole lot of behind the scenes stuff. It was a pretty straightforward production. Basically, Judd Apatow and Jay Kasdan just sort of watched a lot of music biopics and picked out all the tropes, and especially more recently before this film, specifically Walk the Line and Ray are kind of like, if you watch Ray and Walk the Line right before you see this, they mainly kind of do a lot of the stuff in those movies. For specific stuff, like the sense of smell thing is like Ray, thing,
and then like having then the tragic sort of backstory is sort of Ray as well, with like even before the sense of smell is Ray, but they obviously having the having a tragic thing happen to you when you're a kid, that's sort of Ray, and it was sort of a mixture of mixture of biopics, but so it is pretty fun, but you could probably honestly you couldn't do a specific sequel on this one, given we'll talk about it, but you could probably do another I think it's right for another musical biopic of this sort of nature. There's been I get musical biopics aren't going away, and they do follow these tropes. So
well, no, I mean, I'll talk about it. I literally saw one this year that had like 2 scenes that were right out of Walk Hard. You know what I mean? Like, and I'll talk about it a little later. But just a little notice to the cast. The movie stars John C. Reilly, Jenna Fisher, Raymond Barry, Marvel Martindale, Kristen Wiig, Tim Meadows, Chris Parnell, Matt Besser, Jonah Hill, David Edwards, David Krumholtz, Craig Robinson, Harold Ramis, Simon Helberg, Phil Rosenthal, Martin Starr, John Michael Higgins, Ed Helms, Jane Lynch, Jack McBrayer, Nat Faxon, Frankie Muniz, Jack White, Eddie Vedder, Jewel, Ghostface Killer, Lyle Lovett, Paul Rudd, Jack Black, Justin Long, Jason Schwartzman, Patrick Duffy, Morgan Fairchild, Cheryl Ladd, etc., etc.
Every comedic actor from the 2000s is in this movie, just about.
It's slew full of people you recognize throughout the entire movie. Most of them in big parts, but a lot of people you recognize, especially if you go back and watch this movie. Anybody who was in kind of these comedies in the 2000s or the 2010s pops up in here, and it's pretty great. That's what makes it fun to go back and watch. You're just like, oh, hey, there's that person, just all throughout the thing. Pretty great.
We'll get to it, but there's even one person that wasn't obviously famous back then. He's not. I wouldn't say he's a household name now, but he's been in more stuff now. I'm like, oh, okay, there's him as a kid.
But for sure. So let's kind of get into the movie, and this is. Pretty much, if you didn't know, this is a parody of kind of music biopics. But that, again, doesn't play it like the Naked Gun type of parody. It just kind of takes all these tropes you see in a lot of these biopics and applies it to this fictional character of Dewey Cox, and just plays like a biopic where it literally goes from him as a kid, to essentially spoiler alert, to his death at the very end of the final performance. But it takes his whole life and kind of breezes through everything, but also takes how his music changed over the years, and it ends up parodying kind of different styles of music as well through the decades. And again, we'll talk about that as we go along. But we'll kind of just go through it. And the beginning stuff with him as a kid, he has a more talented brother who's like a master pianist, and he plays piano, he plays guitar, he plays like every instrument, he can sing. He's like super talented, total child prodigy. The parents are banking everything on him, to be kind of the eventual basically breadwinner of the family. This is where we first get Raymond Barry in particular as Pa Cox is what they call him, is awesome in this movie. He is so damn funny. And as you have even in your name thing right there, this running gag of we'll talk about it in a second, but when the brother passes away from a tragic machete accident, his constant gag of the wrong kid died, including a musical version of that later in the movie, is freaking hilarious and a really good trope. But what do you think of these parents? I think they're both great, both Raymond Barry and Margot Martindale. She's very funny as well.
I thought they were great. It was real fun. Him just being him just being like such a hard ass, but also this great, great comedic timing, and they were great, and it made for a great running joke throughout the rest of the film. So no, it's very funny. Chip Hormus plays young Nate, Dewey's brother, kind of in the beginning part of this film, and they have the great, like, really funny, just on the nose dialogue where they go off to have this day of fun together, and they're just yelling at nothing bad will happen today. Like we're young, we got our whole lives ahead.
We got our whole long lives ahead of us till we're old age, and then proceeds to have a montage of them doing the most dangerous shit ever.
More escalating like dangerous stuff, like they had a rattlesnake, and then just
throwing rattlesnakes at each other. One of them's chasing the other one on a tractor. They're like even like riding bulls, or like running around with bulls, in a field. They're just doing like the most dangerous thing you can possibly do. It all kind of culminates, they're having this day together. They go back to the barn. They grab some machetes off the walls, which still have like the cover on them, kind of the case, that they're in, this like little slide cover, and they're kind of sword fighting with it. Dewey winds back. It slides off. He takes a big slice and cuts Nate in half, clean in half. The top part falls off, and then they proceed to have a heart-to-heart for like 5 minutes, which is really funny.
He's still talking.
He's still talking, and the funniest line of which is Nate looks down and goes, "Dewey, I'm cut in half real bad." Which I just thought is a pretty brilliant piece of writing. Just everything's just so on the nose, and then he stops and just has this heart-to-heart where he's like, "Dewey, I don't think I'm gonna make it." And he's just like, "You're gonna have to be twice as good, for the both of us." And does this whole thing.
Pressure.
And then even the doctor has a great line as a follow-up where he's like, "This is a particularly bad case of someone getting cut in half by a machete."
And then he goes, I wasn't able to attach the front, the top half to it, his bottom half. And he goes, "Well, what are you saying? Stop talking about science. They're not talking about
science."
Will he live? He died. Oh no,
he's dead. He died. So, but almost immediately, Pa kind of starts in with the wrong kid died thing, like pretty much right from then on. Every time you see him in the movie, he drops the line of like the wrong kid died. Every time he thinks Dewey's like a disappointment. It's a very funny kind of running gag then throughout the movie with the mother, trying to be supportive and whatnot. And then, we learned that because of this tragic trauma, Dewey has lost his sense of smell. Instead of going blind like Ray did, he has lost his sense of smell. And you can't smell. Oh my God, Dewey! And she just throws a little fit. It's very, very funny. Dewey goes to visit a local store to pick up some stuff, and there's two guys singing the blues kind of in the back, and he immediately picks it up, on the guitar.
He has like a black boy. He saw the trailer. He has like a black
brother in hell. Yes, it's a very funny kind of voiceover dub of the voice, but he kind of learns that he wants to do some music as well. And then in a brilliant smash cut, we cut to like 10 years later. He's 14 years old, and one of the great visual jokes is that we immediately cut to John C. Reilly.
Yeah, he's like 40.
He's like 40 playing a 14-year-old, but it's completely intentional. It's completely like intentionally, silly. And that it's just like they skip any kind of middle casting of like somebody, like a teenager. It's just like he goes around and he's just like, I'm only 14 years old, a 14-year-old boy just trying to make it in life. It's very
I mean, okay, he has like he has 3 kids. He's like, I'm 50. I'm 15. And I go, yeah, I'm doing pretty well for having 15. Got 3 kids.
15-year-old with 3 kids already. Yeah. No, that's very funny. Yeah, we'll get to when he gets it with Kristen Wiig here. But yeah, he plays like his first kind of talent show, and then he gets kicked out of the house for what the town kind of protests with the pitchforks and torches, calling his "Take My Hand" song, devil music, and it's like just a song about like take my, and it's a catchy little song, by the way. Straight up, right off the top. The soundtrack and all the songs in this movie, great and really good songs. I mean, they actually it's not just like them, putting like a half effort into the actual music. Like the actual soundtrack of this movie is fantastic. They like all the songs are very catchy. All the songs are very memorable. Throughout the decades and whatnot. Like they're legitimately good songs, and John C. Reilly is a good singer. He's really good.
Yeah, no, I thought he was really good. You know who also has hands? The devil. The devil has the devil has hands.
Yeah. But yeah, he's very funny, and he gets with Edith, who is played by Kristen Wiig, and she's very funny in this, kind of being supportive at first. And then the running gag with her is that every time Dewey goes out on the road and eventually comes back to her, there's like 2 more babies, around the house. every single time there's more babies just running around the house, even though he hasn't been home. And again, it's these gags you see in all these biopics of like, the absent father, with the mother, struggling with the kid or whatever. But yeah, they take it to comic effect here when she just has like, by the end of the movie, she's got like 11 kids running around the house, and like babies and kids and animals and all kinds of stuff running around the house. Yeah. And she says at the beginning she'll support him, but her also joke is that every time he comes back and she's just like, I know you're gonna fail, Dewey. Like you got to give up this music dream. And he's even to the point where he's like, I got a #1 song on the radio, babe. He's like, I know you're gonna fail. It's very funny, and her timing is great. But yeah, he kind of gets his start by he subs one night at a black nightclub for Craig Robinson, who I always kind of forget is in this movie, but he plays Bobby Shad, and they've got this black nightclub where the manager is very funny, where he's like, my people come here to dance erotically, and damn it, they want to dance erotically. And that's literally what they do, is they're doing the most provocative kind of nightclub dancing you've ever seen.
There's like 4 Office alums in this movie.
There's all kinds of people in the Office, because we'll get to the main one, but a ton of people have popped in the Office. But yeah, Craig, he messes up his throat one night, he can't sing, and the one night like Dewey literally does his act, line for line, including talking black.
I'm unique. Was it? I'm unique. Or something.
The song is called "You Got to Love Your Negro Man."
Love your Negro.
Yes. And he sings the whole song. He does the little jokes in between as Bobby, and then the joke is, there's always the conspiracy, Richie, that the Jews run Hollywood or Jews run the music industry, and literally it's like Harold Ramis and these other guys as Hasidic Jews.
Hasidic Jews, very stereotypical Hasidic Jews.
And their names are like L'chaim. His name is literally L'chaim. So yeah, it's very, very funny.
They could be like an inside thing of the. I mean, like obviously it made sense to the story too, but like Craig Robinson around this time, I know because if you watch like obviously like season 4 or 5, I don't know when the years were, but there was one season of Office where Craig Robinson sounded really weird. It was because he had like he had like throat surgery, so he did sound like what he sounded like. When So I don't know. I don't know the timeline. It might have been later. It might have just been.
The Office started in 2005, and this movie came out in 2007. So that might have actually.
It might have been too. For that, I don't know, but it's just interesting because there is a season in The Office where it's like, right, I'm like, what happened to Craig Robinson's voice? He's weird, and I had to look it up. But
Yes. No, it's very funny. So he ends up getting a job or getting at least kind of a tryout at a studio. He's singing the That's Amore, just the bad, kind of Italian song. And then they have, again, another brilliant piece of dialogue where the guy who's like in the studio is just like, unless you can somehow, wow me and impress me with one song that you could do right now, before I leave.
Michael Higgins,
yeah, no, he's very funny, like the way he kind of sets it up. And then they do the thing that I have literally seen even this year.
The one song people like go, and then like everybody comes in like,
yes,
what?
No, and here's the thing. So they do the song. It's one of those tropes where Dewey starts singing a song, everybody else is able to just join right in and go with the song, even to the point of singing the lyrics with him that he's making up on the spot, which is very funny. And yes, all the Jewish guys like kind of poke their heads back into the studio and all sort of start dancing around. Richie, did you see the Bob Marley movie from this year?
I haven't yet. It's on my list to pick up from the library.
Okay. Literally, this scene has two tropes that they do this year in the Bob Marley movie. I swear to God, it's a real thing. There's a scene where young Bob Marley and like his little kind of teenage band or whatever, they're literally in a studio, and the guy is like shaking his head at the song they're playing and just about to leave. He's like disgusted, and they start playing a different song, and he pokes his head back in the door and like is all of a sudden impressed. They literally do that trope in the movie. And then also there's a later scene where Bob is just like kind of jamming like a song that he's making up on the spot, and I swear to God, in the same scene, the rest of the people start joining in on him and even start singing the lyrics. It's exactly like Walk Hard. So literally 17 years later, they're still doing these tropes in music biopics. It's kind of astonishing, really, when you think about it.
Lyrics are only in one person's head, but somehow everybody else knows.
Somehow everybody else knows the lyrics, yes. And I swear to God, Richie, if you see the movie, they have those exact scenes, and I was dumbfounded when I saw the movie. I was like, come on, guys, have you not seen Walk Hard? Come on, just don't do that. So, but yeah, it's very funny. So he gets kind of his big break. Walk Hard becomes sort of a #1 song, and kind of becomes a sensation. And what's funny is it becomes a sensation immediately. They're literally like recorded 30 minutes ago,
38 minutes ago.
38 minutes ago, and it's Jack McBrayer as the DJ. He's like, we've got a first playing about it, and it plays on the radio one time, and immediately he walks out of the studio and is signing autographs. It's hilarious. Very, very funny. So yeah, the song kind of picks up steam, and yeah, it becomes a thing. He plays a rock and roll sort of festival. That's where we get a couple of quick cameos from, as you saw in the trailer, Jack White as Elvis, who's very funny in his brief scene. Yeah, just completely doing a parody of just like, hey man, what's going on? Look out there. No, he's very funny. Frankie Muniz from Malcolm in the Middle shows up as Buddy Holly, who literally is like, tiny and like a kid. He's very good. Yeah, the Big Bopper is there. But yeah, they have a thing where they play to that.
I do like how Jack White and Jack Black are in this movie.
Yes, Jack White and Jack Black, of course. But yeah, and this is where we get our first of another great running gag. And this one is the one with Tim Meadows introducing all the different drugs throughout the movie, which is very, very funny.
Yeah. You don't want this. And then he's just selling them. He's just
you don't want no part of this shit, Dewey. This is called reefer, and it makes you very, very happy. Is it addictive? That's the thing. It's not addictive. It's not habit forming.
It must be expensive, right? No, it's actually the
cheapest drug there is. Yes. So yeah, it's very funny, and it goes on again to next. It's like cocaine, and then it's pills, uppers and downers. Yeah, and it just progressively gets kind of worse and worse and worse.
It's like at the end, it's just like erectile dysfunction.
It's like a Viagra. It's Viagra by the end. Yeah, it's just Viagra. He's like, no, it's a pill that gives you a boner.
It's just like he says no to that. Actually,
yes. It's the one thing he says no to. But yeah, so he first kind of starts there. And then this is where actually while the song is on the radio, the mother passes away because she falls out the window while they're dancing. And she doesn't die of the fall, but she dies because the radio then falls out the window and smashes her in the head. So.
And the father comes to the door while he's like in the middle of basically
an orgy.
And he's like, Christian Wiig calls him at one point, shake up on him, and he's got like this fucking like there's a massive dick in his juice in his face.
Yes.
And then the guy, his dad rocks up, and his conclusion is your music kills people.
Yes, see what your music does to people. It kills people. Dewey. Yeah, and then of course he drops the wrong kid died thing right before he closes the door. So no, it's very very funny. Yeah, that orgy scene is very funny because you get a few of the women or whatever, but there's the scene where he's on the phone and this dude's just standing right next to him like with his hands on his hips and stick out.
Have you seen my sandals?
Yeah, you seen my shoes? Yeah, it's very very funny. So it's good stuff. He then kind of gets introduced to cocaine, as we said. Tim Meadows introduced him to cocaine, as Dewey calls it. Might want me some of that cocaine. And he says it turns all your bad feelings into good feelings, which is very funny. And that's where he starts to do kind of punk rock a little bit. And that's a scene straight out of Walk the Line, by the way, where Joaquin Phoenix is like hopped up on cocaine and is doing faster and faster, music things on stage. It's a direct rip of that. But we get introduced to Darlene, played by, as you said, another Office alum with Jenna Fisher. And this is early in The Office. Like she wasn't really like super famous yet. This is pretty early. This is like the second season of The Office, so it hasn't really super taken off yet. But what do you think of her in this movie? I thought she did pretty great with her kind of back.
I thought she was great. I wish she was in more stuff like Post Office. Actually, I think she's quite good. But and like initially, like at first glance, I thought it was like Amy Adams, like just from like far away. But I'm like, oh wait, no, it's Jenna Fisher. Yes. But no, she was a lot of fun. She's great. She's a great actress, and she had great chemistry with John C. Reilly.
Yeah, no, they have this back and forth for a while. Kind of their romance consists of her always kind of coming on to Dewey Cox and like getting right to the edge and then slapping him in the face or pushing him away or telling him how dare you and all this stuff. Yeah, and having this chemistry. There's a little montage thing where they're doing like construction in a barn, and they're doing like erotic hammering and sawing. And it's very funny. They're just staring at each other while they're hammering things. So it's very funny. This is where they do one of my favorite songs of the Let's Duet song, which is hilarious.
In my dream, I'm blowing you.
Some kisses. You can always come in my back door. It's all these sexual innuendos. In this Let's Do It, and the whole thing is let's do it in ways we never dreamed of. Let's do it. Yeah, it's very very funny as they do this kind of back and forth. And again, that's sort of to mimic the Joaquin and Reese Witherspoon stuff in Walk the Line. So it's very very funny as they kind of become a duet thing. In the middle of that, I believe, him and Kristen Wiig have kind of falling out, and they have a breakup, and they go, they split kind of the assets. She takes off with all the kids, and he wants his monkey. That's all he wants. You're not taking my monkey.
He goes, you can, and then he chastises the kid for being a baby. Like, you don't know, you're just a baby. What do? You're just a baby. You can take my kids, but you can't take my monkey.
Yes. And then we get into the kind of the hippie era. We get a little bit in the 60s. Dewey starts. There's a great sequence. And every time I see the new trailer for the Bob Dylan biopic, I just think of this sequence
in this movie. The first time a couple of days ago.
For the new Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan thing. But every time I think about the sequence in this movie where he does the Bob Dylan montage.
He's doing a press conference. He's like, people say music sounds like Bob Dylan. Maybe Bob Dylan sounds like me, and it just
sounds like Dewey Cox.
And
the mouse traps and the thing. Like he's just saying nonsense words. And everybody just tells him it's like very says it's very very deep, and he's doing kind of the war protests, and it goes to black and white, kind of like the Bob Dylan thing. So it's very funny because it's all in black and white with the sunglasses and everything. So every time I see that new trailer, I'm just like, I hope they just don't. Just please don't avoid these tropes, because Walk Hard just skewered that thing too.
Even the protesting, it's not like anything. It's just he's fighting for midgets.
Yes, for midgets' rights. That's right. That's very, very funny. He sings a song about midgets too, and like I can't remember the name of the song, but yeah, it's something about height and midget. It's very funny. Yeah, little midget or something. It's very, very funny. And then they move a little bit into the late 60s, early 70s. And this is the LSD phase. And this is where we get the awesome scene with, as I said, the four guys as the Beatles. You get Jack Black, Paul Rudd, Jason Schwartzman, and who was the other one?
Justin Long.
Justin Long, yeah, that's right. All four of them as the different Beatles. And actually, this is a behind-the-scenes thing. I was listening to a podcast where Justin Long was being interviewed, and he got asked about this scene. And it was funny how, so Justin Long himself, he knew he was going to do this scene, right? So for like a week, he looked up all this like George Harrison stuff. You know, he tried to imitate his voice. You know, he's like doing all this research or whatever. And then Jack Black shows up and does this nonsense voice for John Lennon. And it's just like, you know, would you like to do some LSD? I'm just doing like a very stupid like parody voice. And Justin Long felt like an idiot because he like prepared, you know, this. He tried to do this super hard impression of like, you know, George Harrison and tried to mimic it exactly. And Jack Black just comes in and just is a total goof and just doesn't care. And they just left it in and they don't care. So I felt bad for Justin Long because he did all this research and Jack Black comes in and just is Jack Black with a British accent. Yeah. It's very funny.
That was what stood out, was because like I even felt like Paul Rudd and Jason Schwartzman, they were doing like decent, like sort of like parody, but like decent little Liverpudlian sort of accents. Yes. Jack Black was just being like, it was like his accent was terrible. It was just like, it was very, it was just like, he's just being ridiculous.
Come with us, Mr. Dewey Cox. It's just, yeah, it's very, very funny. But yeah, they do some LSD. We get a little kind of animated sequence. It's very funny. Yeah, it's definitely like kind of one of the more memorable things. And yeah, when you go back and watch this movie and, you know, everybody is somebody in that Beatles scene, you know, who went on to kind of, you know, at least breaking out at this point, but obviously goes on to be in even bigger things, you know, beyond that. Yeah, it's very, very fun. So yeah, that scene is great. We get kind of in his LSD phase where he gets into the 70s. He's wearing all the 70s goofy, you know, garb. He's constantly doing LSD. There's the bit where they say he's been jumping on a trampoline for like 6 hours straight.
4 days.
4 days straight. That's right. He's like he's been like that all day, just jumping on a trampoline, you know, having enlightenment and whatnot. And then yeah, he's trying to make his sort of masterpiece song, and he's got like 40 people in the studio. He's got African tribesmen, you know, doing, you know, wood instruments. He's got animals making noises, you know, goats making noises, all kinds of stuff.
Like,
it's very funny.
Wait, it's not done yet. I need 50,000 didgeridoos.
Yes. Didgeridoos. Yeah. But yeah, that's where the band kind of breaks up with him. And then he kind of has kind of a mental breakdown. Darlene leaves him. And yeah, he's kind of all by himself. And yeah, every time he has these breakdowns, he's always breaking things. And there's these great breaking montages where he's always just ripping stuff apart and throwing things around. Yeah, he saws the couch in half, saws it all the way down. There's a bit where he opens up the drawers and he's folding all the silverware in half, you know, knives and forks and spoons, just folding them all in half and throwing them on the ground. He goes into a bathroom and rips all the sinks off the wall, every single one of them. That's again another walk the line thing where I think there's one scene where he like rips a sink off the wall in the bathroom, and they just of course take it to the most ridiculous degree in this one. So yeah, all those montages were very funny.
Or he goes to, doesn't he at this point too also go to rehab, and he was like, I'm cold, need blankets. I'm too hot.
I'm too hot. I'm hot and cold at the same time.
He needs less blankets. I'm hot and cold.
He needs less blankets and more blankets.
Less blankets and more blankets.
Yeah, but he ends up seeing I think this is the first appearance we get of Jonah Hill as his older ghost brother, who again I always kind of forget is in this movie because he's uncredited. Yeah, this is like 2007 Jonah Hill, same year as Superbad, so he ended up having a pretty good year here. You know, big breakout year. But yeah, Jonah Hill plays his brother, has somehow grown up a little bit as a ghost, and Dewey Cox starts seeing him and he tells him he needs to kind of get back to business and get back to sort of songwriting and get his act together. But he's just kind of constantly chastising him and whatnot. We get kind of a little more 70s stuff. where it's a really funny kind of a piece of business where they offer him a variety show, like a corny 70s variety show, where he's doing like disco versions of Walk Hard. He's doing,
and then David Bowie and
doing corny, sketches and just really lame comedy. This is where we get the Jane Lynch interview sequence where she pops up, and again, she was kind of breaking out around the time she had been in 40-Year-Old Virgin, and she would go on to be, of course, in role models, things like that. But he ends up kind of asking about the parents and everything about his brother, and he just has kind of an absolute just breakdown and on there.
She gets into the interview and it's like she doesn't she didn't do her research, so she's like, how's the wife thing? We broke up like
3 years ago.
3 years ago. Oh yeah, how's your parents? Oh, my mom died.
Oh, mom's dead. And then the end of the thing, the final thing is like and we're back with Dewey Cox. Well, you just gotta sometimes you gotta just walk around and laugh. You gotta stop and smell the roses. I don't have any fucking sense of smell. He wants it's very, very funny. And he storms off the set. She's like, "All right, yeah, we'll be right back." It's really, really good. He goes back and eventually goes to try to reconcile with his dad. They end up getting into a machete fight in the barn for real. And then
my favorite throwaway line, he goes, when they start the machete fight, John Cena finally goes, "You've been practicing." I love it.
I knew we would do it eventually. He ends up kind of missing and slicing himself in half, the paw that is, and then has a moment where again they have kind of a heart to heart, and he goes, "Wow, I didn't realize until now how easy it was to accidentally cut yourself in half with a machete."
It's pretty easy.
It's pretty easy, actually. No, it's very, very funny. So they kind of have a heart to heart before he passes away as well, and then he again destroys everything in his house after his dad dies. It's like a third montage of him just breaking everything in sight. But it's really funny. And then, we kind of wind down in the third act where he decides to go back and kind of connect with his family. He has like 20 kids now that he's kind of reconnect with.
This is where so the first kid where he comes in, he's like, "Hey, I want to play, play catch." And I'm like, "Oh, he just came out." That's that's Skylar Gizondo, I think. He's in that Vacation remake. He's in Booksmart. Booksmart. He's that DJ. He's that goofy DJ guy that's going up the stairs. Like, trying to. I think he showed us up on it one time on Seen and Heard, where they're going up the stairs. So I'm like, "Hey, I know that guy. He's in that TV show called The Resort." But I remember that guy. So I'm like, "Hey." Nice. He's gone on through stuff. I think he's going to be big because he's going to be. He's going to be in James Gunn's Superman movie as
Jimmy Olsen, maybe.
Jimmy Olsen, yeah.
Okay, now I was going to say that makes sense age-wise. That he would be like a Jimmy Olsen kind of thing. So cool. Nice. He's blowing up. Nice. We get kind of a montage of him sort of playing with the kids. He's playing catch with a whole bunch of different ones, other girls, other boys. There's a black kid in there, and he's like, "Are you sure you're one of mine?"
A black Asian dude, and he's
black Asian kid. Yeah, it's like kind of weird. He's like, "Are you sure you're one of mine?"
And then he just obviously buys like a tour bus thing, and they all just.
Well, it becomes like kind of a Partridge Family thing, and they are almost like singing like the Partridge Family on the tour bus, and he's just driving around, and he's just kind of becoming a family man. Darlene kind of comes back to his life a little bit. They put a little bit of makeup on Jenna Fisher, which again, in hindsight, actually, she's I think in 50 or in her 50s now, and she still looks almost exactly the same. It's always weird when they put older makeup on these people like Leah Thompson and the Back to the Future movies, but she looks like exactly the same. Just a little older. It's just funny how kind of extreme they make it. But he ends up they kind of cross paths again, and then we get a little bit of we should say David Krumholtz kind of becomes sort of his manager, trying to get him back in the game a little bit. So he had a fun little role there as kind of, another one of these Jewish managers, kind of poking in and out of the movie from the 70s on. And then Simon Helberg, who I was like, I recognize that guy. Who is that? He's from The Big Bang Theory. He would come out of The Big Bang Theory. Yeah, he's on there. He kind of is one of the. I think in the movie he plays the son of Harold Ramis, the Harold Ramis character. And then it says that there was a rapper called Little Nutsack.
Doing a sample of Walk Hard.
Yeah, there's a sample of Walk Hard in his music video. Yeah, and it's catching fire again a little bit and getting introduced. And he wants him to play. They want to give him like an honorary kind of lifetime achievement award at like a music awards show. So he kind of gets back in the game.
But they want to like him to sing a song, like an original song, and then it led to one of the. There's two funny strokes in the movie to me right at the end. It was like, even though I thought it's stupid, it got me more than it should. Where he was like, he didn't know whether he could sing, and he was like, he had still got it. He's like, I don't know if I can do it. Of course. And then Jenna Fisher goes, of course you can, sweetheart. And he just goes, and then Simon Elmer goes, of course you can, sweetheart. And he just repeated it. I laughed.
That's very, very, good timing in this movie all around. It's very funny. He ends up having to kind of go around and get the band back together. Matt Besser punches him in the face before kind of just giving him a hug. Tim Meadows is great because he's pissed at him because he has.
He didn't pay for drugs because
you never once paid for drugs
because when they had the whole breakup thing of like the disintegration of the band, like all these other people had like decent grievances, but all Tim Meadows could say is, and you never once paid for drugs.
Yes. So he's pissed at him, but he goes to visit him at his like trailer, and he holds a giant bag of weed. And he gives him a hug and kind of reunites with him. And then Chris Parnell is just happy to see him. He's like completely lonely and just completely alone. He immediately like starts crying and just hugs him because he's just a shut in. So yeah, it's very funny. So they kind of reunite. They go to the show, and Dewey ends up writing a song called "A Beautiful Ride," kind of summing up his whole life that he's going to sing.
But before that, is my favorite jokes. And so they redo the drug joke where so he goes into his room and he's like he's got a like Viagra, and he's just like, oh, I can't do it, and he goes. Dewey Cox goes, I can't resist the temptations, and he goes into a room, and then there's a temptation.
There's the Temptations.
The Temptations! I love it. So great, amazing.
And those, by the way, were the actual Temptations.
Yeah.
Otis Williams, Ron Tyson, Terry Weeks, Joe Herndon. Yeah, the actual Temptations. Yeah, it's very funny. Oh my God, the Temptations. Yeah, that was a nice little joke. If you got it, you got it. But it's very funny. But yeah, and he ends up kind of starting to sing "A Beautiful Ride." He sees Jonah Hill kind of off to the side, watching him. It's very funny. David Krumholtz is like jamming in the crowd, and he has a heart attack and keels over and dies, and then walks onto the stage to the side of the stage as a ghost and just keeps dancing. So that was very funny. So he just pops up as a ghost immediately. He ends up singing a thing. Well, they Jewel and Lyle Lovett and like Ghostface Killer and Eddie Vedder go up there first and kind of introduce him and are doing kind of a little reprise of his original song, and then before they actually bring him on. So it was funny to see all them.
He did his whole intro. It's like if Elvis is God, someone is Iggy Pop is Nazareth.
Yeah. Someone else is John the Baptist, blah blah blah. It's a very like self-indulgent, just like insane monologue. But he delivered it really, really well because he played it completely straight, and it just gets more and more ridiculous. It was very funny. They bring him on stage. He sings his "Beautiful Ride" song, and then he dies. It's because, as the title card says afterwards, he died 3 minutes after the performance of that song. He keeled over and has a heart attack. We kind of get that, and we get kind of a little montage, and then they did actually. Did you see the post-credit scene?
Where it says the real Dewey Cox?
The real Dewey Cox. Yeah, here's the footage of the real Dewey Cox, and it's just John C. Reilly playing John C.
Reilly in apparently 2002. Mm-hmm. But that's supposed to be like, I guess that's supposed to be like, maybe like a Johnny Cash type, like obviously, I don't know, like yeah, with Johnny. So yeah, that was pretty funny.
No, it's just
But
all these
it-
biopics that, like, over the credits, sometimes these biopics will have like a thing on the side where they'll show actual footage of the real person, they're doing the biopic of. And yeah, this one's just funny because it's like, we'll do the same thing, but just with John C. Reilly.
Maybe Dewey Cox was first.
Yes. So yeah, it's really, really funny. Yeah, this movie rocks. This again, the more you see more of these biopics, and again, we got 2 this year because we had the Amy Winehouse thing and we had the Bob Marley thing. Oh yeah, when we're getting the Bob Dylan one, so we got essentially 3 this year, 3 major ones.
And then I think which is going to be interesting. I think is it either next year or the year after or whatever. We're getting 4 Beatles ones, separate ones from
Something like that. Yeah, we're gonna get a slew of Beatles movies. It's weird. Yeah, we had the Whitney Houston one that kind of bombed last year. That wasn't very good. Yeah. We've had the Aretha Franklin one. Yeah, I mean, and we're still getting these things fairly frequently. I know they're making a Michael Jackson one. Doesn't that come out next year?
Yeah, which is it's played by one of his was it his nephew or something? It's weird. It's a relative to Michael Jackson is playing Michael Jackson, which is a bit strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know how in deep they're going to go with the biopic, to be honest. But yeah, there's that. I know. Yeah, that there's. Yeah, I think there's other talk about I thought there was talk about David Bowie. There's probably a few. I know they've been talking about it for years, but I'm sure at some point there'll be maybe a Kurt Cobain one, or no, never know. But yeah, there's a lot out there in the pipeline.
Yeah. Just a quick thing, you can also go up and look for about 2 weeks before the movie came out. John C. Reilly went on an actual music tour in different cities like Cleveland and LA, Chicago, Nashville, Austin, Texas, and did mini concerts as Dewey Cox, in character, and sang some of the songs from the movies. You can actually go look some of those up. They're very funny because he's literally just totally in character with the grease hair, and just playing the guitar and everything and singing a couple of songs from the movies. It's really funny. And he even did a Good Morning America, appearance as Dewey Cox just in concert. So that was pretty cool. Again, I appreciate stuff like that where they could just kind of be, sort of like how, fucking Anchorman,
Ron Burgundy could show up on Conan as Ron Burgundy, and
exactly. No, he'll show up as Ron Burgundy, in character for a lot of stuff, and just keep even the podcast that he does. So yeah, it's very funny like that. But yeah, I mean, this movie I revisited. Yeah, I had showed it to my girlfriend a few weeks ago. She thought it was really silly but very funny. And again, yeah, it's a completely silly, ridiculous movie. That's the point. Again, it's a parody movie. But yeah, I mean, this movie, Richie, has just absolutely ruined these biopics for me. I cannot watch any of them without seeing something that was already kind of troped in Dewey Cox, and it's just I can't. I don't know. Are you the same? I can't watch these.
I probably will. But before this recently watched it had been a long time since I had watched it before. So yes, probably now that's fresh in my mind. It might impact it a bit. But yeah, yeah, there's even the way the pacing, the way that parodies things just progressing very quickly, for just that the scene where they fight him and Darlene are finally gonna have sex, and then he finds out he's married, and Kristen Wiig is right there, just with her suitcase just randomly there, everything just happens really quickly, and it's fun. Yeah. Oh, and even the way Darlene just popped it, she just randomly just shows up. He just walks in I'm gonna be a duet star. She's like, okay, yeah.
All right, sounds good. No, I mean, just the drug stuff where it just progresses, the montage of him just being whacked out on drugs and destroying things and just ruining his life. Yeah, how quickly that goes kind of up and down almost immediately. I mean, the montages of him gaining success, they show even the things where the song is climbing the Billboard charts, as he's doing the different concerts. I feel like even That Thing You Do does that, in the Tom Hanks movie, of just oh, they're singing the song song and it's climbing the charts like piece by piece. Like they completely parody that. I mean, they just rip apart every cliche you've seen in any of these movies. And yeah, it's hard for me to watch. Like I said, I watched that Bob Marley movie and I was just like, they literally ripped scenes right out of that, and I was shaking my head, just being like, "Are we still doing this?" Like, I almost prefer these biopics, Richie, where like, stuff like Stan and Ollie, or even Lincoln, where they just take a piece of their life and just kind of do, like this person for like this couple of months of their life or something like that, rather than trying to do the full life thing, from child to death, and trying to cram everything in.
Well, yeah, even like if it's just a certain part of you can create a successful biopic if it's just a certain moment in history. Like that's why I'm looking forward to the SNL movie that's coming out in a couple of months. Just like about all about the build up to the first.
Just that one episode, and that's it. Just the one day.
Yeah. So yeah, which I could see that being similar in the sense of like not obviously silliness, but in the sense that like there's that person. That person's from that thing. There'll be I feel like there'll be a lot of people we will recognize.
Yes.
But I tend to I tend to agree. Like I think it's like you don't necessarily. I feel like sometimes, especially especially if you're documenting something that maybe had a shorter life, like there's like need to like cram everything in. It's like no, like you can just kind of. It's like when you're adapting a book. You don't need to cram everything into the. Just do what makes sense. Just do what makes. You put in what makes sense. And all the most important parts. But you don't need to. Otherwise, you risk running to tropes and cliches. Like
even the Rocket Man Elton John movie didn't do like his entire life. They just did like from one point to like sort of the one comeback thing after he got cleaned up, but then they didn't keep going another 30 years after that. You know what I mean? Like they stopped right there. Like they just did this specific period in time where he was like getting successful and then struggling a little bit. And so like it hits a few of the tropes, but at the same time, they only cover like a 10-year time span, I feel like. And then they don't do him as a kid, they don't do him, how he is now. Like they just cut it off. And then also did the uniqueness of having the kind of almost like the music videos within the biopic every time he would do a song, and having like these musical numbers, like they at least tried to do something different. So I at least appreciated that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Also, I mean, one thing that's imperative on music biopics is people they try to get away with this in music biopics, and it always fails. Make sure you got the rights to the music. Make sure, remember they tried to do a Jimi Hendrix one with Andre 3000, and it came and went. No one with no fanfare because you couldn't like play any.
Didn't Chadwick Boseman do the James Brown one too? But they only could play like snippets of it because they didn't have the full rights to it. So you start a song and they would cut it away to it because they didn't have the full rights to the James Brown music. Like I feel like if you're gonna do it, you better make sure you have the rights to the estate to do the music because I feel like it's a complete waste if you can't have like full musical numbers on these things.
Otherwise it's like what's the point? Like you just not get interest. Like a Jimi Hendrix biopic, for example, the idea of that's awesome because Jimi Hendrix, obviously one of the best guitar players.
Well, and again, like you said, it would be a very short period of time because he was really only famous for about 5 to 10 years or something like that, before he unfortunately passed away. So you don't have to cover this lengthy, 40-year, 50-year period. You can cover like a 5-year span and you'd be good.
But just get the music. Like that's the pivotal part of a music biopic.
Yes,
the music. So I guess it would definitely probably change how I watch music biopics. So it'd be interesting. I don't know what the next one on the docket is to come out. But
I think the Bob Dylan one's the next one.
The Bob Dylan one,
because I think the Bob Dylan one comes out in like November, so that's probably the most immediate one. The next one on the horizon is probably the Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan one.
Is a Complete Unknown or something? Is it called?
The complete stranger, unknown stranger, whatever the hell is. I don't remember what it's called, but The Timothy Chalamet Bob Dylan movie. Yeah, it's coming soon.
So I'll it's like, but I'd probably be more intrigued in that as well. If we didn't, I mean, we had. I feel like we just talked about a Bob Dylan biopic where like 6 people played him.
Oh yeah, the I'm Not There thing, because it showed up on Wolfman's 128. So like we talked a little bit on that on Tournament Fights, and yeah, it's the one where at least that one again was unique enough to do like, okay, let's get like 6 different people to play him at different points of his life, and that was at least unique and interesting. Something different, to just do certain life events or something like that. Like that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. So, yeah.
I can hear Fern, going nuts in the background, just goofing around. It's like, come on, Richie, get off your computer.
Just being a puppy, eating, probably doing things she's not supposed to. I was paying attention because she was like, she's got like a tug of war toy, and I'm like, oh, she's doing that, but then I realized, oh wait, she's not.
We're bumping up on the hour mark. Any final thoughts on this movie, and how your overall rewatch went, and will you revisit it, frequently in the future?
I definitely revisit it. It's a great, it's a great parody movie. It's the way parody movies should be, or you play it. You play it straight, and the jokes are really well crafted. They're really real fun, and like when you have, when you definitely have like a lot of, we have people on board who are like writers who are talented and very observant with these sort of tropes, and talented actors. That makes for a great film. So I would definitely watch it. I'd definitely watch it again. I think other people have said this before. I wish such parody movies, like good quality parody movies, would make a comeback. I know we've got like Naked Gun remake coming out like within the next couple of years. I don't know.
So we've gotten to the point where we're remaking parody movies.
Yeah.
Doesn't that just feel weird? We're gonna remake a parody film. That seems odd in a concept.
That's weird. Yeah,
because like with that, the Leslie Nielsen one still holds up. It's still very funny. Yeah. Like you can go watch that today, and it's still hilarious. It's very, very funny.
Leslie Nielsen, we got Liam Neeson. It's an actor that sounds similar. But who hasn't really been proven in comedy other than like maybe Ted 2. I definitely I think if honestly I might have to rejig my 128 because I might be on there now.
This one is in my 128. I've always thought this was one of the funniest just movies ever. Like especially again of the sort of 2000s. These again 2000s might have been the last great decade of comedy movies. Because you think about all the great comedies we got, and I do accredit. At least for that decade, Judd Apatow was a big part of that because he was a part of Anchorman. He was a part of, obviously Superbad, Talladega Nights, Knocked Up, all that kind of 40-Year-Old Virgin. So he was a part of a lot of those big kind of parody. But we even had funny stuff like Hot Rod, was very funny. Even just those other comedies that popped up in the 2000s were all really, really funny. I like movies like Accepted, just like I thought it was kind of the last great decade of comedy, and then it's sort of cooled off here in the last 10 or 15 years to where we don't get a whole lot of comedies that I go back to frequently, and it's kind of unfortunate.
I can't think of in the last 5 to 10 years I would generally go back to either. I would say I don't know. I think they're missing that formula. I think there's enough talent and good writing there to have good comedy, but it's not like they were in the 2000s. So hopefully they get to it at that point. But there's nothing really go back to as far as really fun comedies in the last few years. So
Yeah, but yeah, if you haven't had a chance to go back and watch this, I highly, highly recommend it. Yes, it'll completely expose these biopics, and you won't be able to watch them the same again. But it's very, very funny. Like we said, just tons of cameos and people you recognize and comedic actors just throughout the entire thing, throughout the whole runtime. Yeah, it's great. It's very fast paced, and yeah, and one of the most important things is that the music is actually really good. You could go onto Spotify and just listen to the soundtrack, and it's great. And yeah, with all the different genres, like there's like 50s music, there's kind of 60s protest music with the Bob Dylan stuff. There's a kind of Latin song in there. The Guilty as Charged song has kind of got this Latin, thing going for it. It's still very funny. It's still very fun. A Beautiful Ride's a good song. Like all the songs are good. So I mean, that's again one of the more important things. They actually put effort into the songs as well. It wasn't just about making funny lyrics or whatever. Like they're legitimately catchy, earworm songs, and they're very good.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, you don't think like it's not like dumb songs. Be like, oh, how would this guy get famous? These songs are silly. Why would you? Why would you? Yeah, but no, you can see why this dude has talent, and then like the writing is good. So yeah.
I could see a song like "Take My Hand" in the 50s, or the actual "Walk Hard" song, or like the "Guilty as Charged" song, actually charting. If they were real songs, and being like hit songs because like they're pretty good. They're very catchy songs.
Yeah.
So yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, good stuff all around. Yeah, big thumbs up for Walk Hard. Yeah, it still holds up. It is very, very funny. Yeah, if you have not seen it, great performances, great writing. Yeah, this is kind of the golden era of like Judd Apatow sort of stuff too. Before he I kind of dropped off with him in the 2010s as well a little bit. I think he got a little bit too self-indulgent with the run times and just maybe being in love with his own material a little bit. Maybe at this point he was still kind of trying to make a name for himself, so it's still very funny. I mean, This Is 40 was the tipping point for me. I kind of broke off from there. But yeah, so I do think this movie works very, very well. And yeah, if you haven't seen it, please go back and watch this. This movie works brilliantly. Yeah, and it's in 128. So yeah, we don't know exactly what we're doing next. For Wheel of Movies, we'll be probably spinning the wheel, at some point this weekend. I will. I'm doing a show at least on Friday with Jordan, so I will probably tomorrow night. So maybe we'll spin the wheel tomorrow night at the end of the show, something like that, and we'll figure out what we're doing next. But that'll be in about 2 weeks or so, as we usually do. We'll space it out a little bit and see what we're watching next. But yeah, Richie, anything you want to plug or where anybody can find you?
Yeah, catch us in half an hour for Lonely Monks, where we break down Bash in Berlin, and I do predictions for All Out, which is this week. There's a pay-per-view, surplus of pay-per-views coming up. So
yes. God, it feels like, it was about 10 days ago when we watched All In at Wembley, and now we're getting another pay-per-view we got to watch. So, yes.
So, yeah.
And apparently add to the thing of, we'll talk about it on Lonely Marks if you want to hear us talk about it. But apparently, we talk about things are legal if it's in the wrestling world, like murder. Apparently arson is legal too, as long as you do it on
Yeah. I don't even know if he checked if anyone's in that house. But anyway.
Arson / maybe attempted murder is legal as well, as long as you're a wrestling character. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. So
what are we talking about? Join us on Lonely Marks. We'll fill you in. In the build up for Swerve and Hangman.
and all the news. So yeah, all good. Now that's pretty much. I mean, I'm on Jordan's channel, JPO's channel, and Jordan Anderson. Maybe Hero, on Tournament Fights. Will be on the championship round for 2001 next week. So check out for there. And other than that, but yeah, I'm around, and yeah, you'll catch me wherever.
All right, yeah, sounds good. Yeah, you can mostly find me obviously here on the Movie Here Network, co-hosting or hosting most of the stuff. I'll be hosting another episode of Recast, and we bumped it up a little bit, so we're going live next Monday night at 9 p.m. And our next recast is Jurassic Park. That should be a really fun episode. We're casting 10 characters from Jurassic Park, so it'll be a big movie. Another big one that we're going to cover in Jurassic Park. So our Pulp Fiction episode was really, really fun. Richie was on there. We had a blast with that episode. That was really, really, really good. So it's the highest viewed video in Movie Hero Network history. So maybe it caught fire and we got a little formula down. So join us for Jurassic Park. We'll try to have just as much fun. And as Richie said, we're wrapping up the 2001 ladder series, so you can join us for those. Other than that, I said Lonely Marks Wrestling Podcast, which you can find a link to if you head over to the Movie Hero Network Facebook group. You can always join that, and I'll be linking out the Lonely Marks show there because we have a separate channel for that. But I'll link it in there, and you can find that as well. So for the next episode, we don't know exactly what it is of Wheel of Movies. We'll let you guys know over the course of the next few weeks on the Movie Hero Network as we spin the wheel probably this weekend. But thanks as always for joining me, Richie. I appreciate it. We will see you guys next time in about 2 weeks. So thanks, Richie. And I've been Austin Pez Howell, and we will see you guys next time.